Hey, welcome back for some more X-Files. Today we're looking at D.P.O, episode 3 of season 3. Debuting on the Fox network October 6, 1995, D.P.O follows our agents as they investigate a small town where strange deaths seem to be occurring, all caused by lightning strikes. The episode begins in one of the darkest and most depraved places on Earth, a 90s arcade. Some teenagers, I think. I'm not quite sure on the ages because they could either be 18 or 35. Well, they're having a little argument because Darren claims he was playing Virtua Fighter 2 first, and the bigger bully looking guy, well, he just isn't having it.
I go first.
So far though, I'm not buying these two as actors. The bully may have bitten off more than he can chew though, because it looks like Darren is somehow capable of controlling electronics. He doesn't have time for these nerds anymore, however, and should probably get back to delivering pizzas. Only problem is he appears to be having car troubles. Well, that and violent seizures. Maybe next time he'll think about how he treats scrawny dorks. Mulder and Scully have been called on the scene over what is really nothing more than your typical lightning strike on a cloudless night. Happens all the time.
Cataracts over both eyes. Probably heat-induced.
Those cataracts look a lot like white contact lenses to me. The kid clearly died of a lightning strike. I mean, just look at his heart. It looks like that frozen pizza I forgot in the oven. The odd thing, however, is there is no point of contact, so there's no way of knowing how he was electrocuted. This also makes him the 5th victim of lightning strikes in a very short period of time. Something just isn't adding up.
Yes, I'm Agent Scully.
I know who you are. I just wonder what the hell you're doing here.
Well, here we go with the local law enforcement and their pissing contests. They're always so territorial when Mulder and Scully arrive on the scene. Sheriff Dickhead tries schooling Scully on lightning and how she didn't do her homework because she should know that they have a lightning observatory in town which creates lightning for research purposes. But the sheriff doesn't know one very important fact about Scully. Scully tells someone she's a medical doctor.
Based on what?
Based on my opinion as a medical doctor.
Scully concurs with the findings that the boy most likely died from a lightning strike, but it still isn't adding up. Mulder, meanwhile, just watches the whole interaction, and the only thing he's missing is a bucket of popcorn. Mulder, however, doesn't think it's lightning. I'm guessing chupacabra? He points out all the victims seem to be male and in the age range of 17 to 21, so these aren't isolated incidents. These boys are being targeted, but by who? The agents investigate the scene where the boy was found dead, and given the time of his death was after 11 o'clock, the only place that would have been open would be the arcade, so they've got to check it out.
What's your name?
Zero.
I'm with the FBI.
Alright.
While Scully questions Zero about the death of the young man, Mulder mulls around the arcade and notices someone with the initials D.P.O is really good at Virtua Fighter 2. Well, oddly enough, of the 5 victims of these random lightning strikes, only one actually survived. Darren Peter Oswald, or D.P.O. And based on the scoreboard, he was there the night the boy died. This episode brought to you by Harvey Weinstein. Sharon Kavit was one of Darren's high school teachers who he's kind of developed an unhealthy obsession with, like scary unhealthy. To make things worse, he now also works for her husband, so she has to see him on an almost daily basis. Darren has also said some weird things to her in the past, so to say she's uncomfortable around him is an understatement. I really want to know why she doesn't just tell her husband about what's going on, because he seems like the kind of guy that would put an end to it right quick.
I just got a call on the radio. Some people are coming to see you. They say they're with the FBI.
Huh, I wonder why they'd want to see him. The agents want to know if he saw anything the night of the death, but Darren was so focused on his game, remember, that he couldn't have possibly seen what happened. Suddenly Mulder's phone overheats and just starts to melt. Must have been a Samsung Note 7. Darren doesn't seem to have the best home life. His mom seems to be more interested with trash TV than with what her son is up to, but it still isn't any excuse to be a creeper with Sharon.
Believe it, man. You won't believe who came by today.
I guess the FBI.
How did you know?
He questions Zero why the FBI would come see him, but Zero claims he didn't say a thing. Then for some reason Darren decides to evoke some lightning and fry some poor cows. I don't know about you, but maybe he gets a weird kick from it? Mulder and Scully arrive on the scene and the sheriff is still being a tool, but he does have something interesting to share with the agents.
You know what this is? Huh?
Looks like a fulgurite. That only happens with lightning.
Yes, the deaths are occurring because of lightning, but it's not what the sheriff thinks, yet he still acts like he knows everything. But Dummy missed a crucial piece of evidence. Somehow this lightning left a shoe print. So like a spooky Cinderella, the agents now need to find the shoe that matches the print. Scully does find what appears to be some antifreeze, which sets a bulb off in Mulder's head that it's Darren. But shouldn't that be obvious? I mean, he did this literally steps away from his own house. Zero thinks they should take his special skill to Vegas and just clean them out, but Darren isn't going anywhere without Sharon. And how could Sharon not want Darren? I mean, he can control lightning and spends his afternoons trying to cause car accidents. He sounds like quite the catch to me, ladies.
She failed you. Remember? She thinks you're a retard.
Despite Zero's choice of words, he's definitely the smarter of the two. He knows Darren's love for Sharon is ill-placed, and plus, she's married. Not like he can just go and fry his boss. For some reason, Darren thinks he can impress her with his special talent, because no woman can turn down a guy that causes car accidents. The agents check out Darren's room looking for anything that may tie him to these incidents, and while Scully goes looking in the closet, Mulder's first instinct is to grab the adult magazine.
It's the cruelest month, but mine didn't come with this. I found that between Miss April and women of the Ivy League.
Mulder finds a picture of Sharon in the magazine, which is kind of funny because the actress that played her, Karen Laurie, was the March 1982 Playmate of the Month for Playboy. Mulder then points out that her last name is Kavit, the same name as Kavit Auto Body where Darren works. Her husband arrives on the scene of the crash, and he suddenly suffers from a heart attack as a spaced out Darren watches on. While the paramedics that were already on the scene because of the crash get the paddles ready, Darren comes over to lay hands on his boss and save his life, even though he was the one who caused it in the first place.
Rescue 911.
Anybody remember Rescue 911? I don't know why, but as a kid, that opening always scared the shit out of me. At the hospital, Scully has something weird to share with Mulder. The paramedics' paddles were not functioning, yet somehow when Darren placed his hands on the man, a large amount of electricity was picked up on his EKG. Mulder has something for Scully as well, because it looks like Darren is walking lightning. Well, according to Mulder anyways. He has some abnormal electrolyte imbalance, which basically gives him the ability to control electricity.
Darren, don't you touch me, man!
Relax, Darren.
Don't you touch me!
Just want to talk to you, that's all. Just ask you a few more questions.
The agents arrive to speak with Darren, and we get a nice quick shot of the crew filming the scene. They bring Darren in to question him, but he won't give them anything. Mulder believes that there may be someone else who will though. They speak with Sharon and tell her they've arrested Darren, but can't go any further without her help.
Well, I'm not blind. I knew he had a crush on me, but I felt sorry for him.
Sharon was his high school teacher, and despite knowing he had a little crush on her, she felt bad for him. For his situation anyways. So she helped him get a job at her husband's garage, and that was when the phone calls started. On top of that, after the last death, Darren told her he had powers. Spooky lightning powers, but she couldn't exactly tell anyone because who would believe her?
Where's Oswald?
I sent him home.
You released him? When?
The agents finally get Sharon to agree to help them, and this idiot lets Darren go. This sheriff must be a lightning researcher in his off time because he seems to know everything about it. Mulder tries to warn Sharon that Darren is loose, but she's already gone on her way to the hospital, which is probably the worst place for her to go at the moment. Closing time at the arcade, but I don't think Darren believed Zero when he said he had nothing to do with the FBI paying him a visit. This is not the greatest death in the X-Files, no. This is just a tribute. I'm glad this Zero guy is finally gone though. Acting just isn't for everybody. I really hope he doesn't quit his day job. Mulder and Scully arrive at the hospital to give Sharon the good news that Darren escaped and could be on his way. And just like that, he already is. I know he has lightning powers, but how did he carry his friend all the way to the hospital elevator without anyone questioning it?
Mrs. Kavit?
Darren, don't move.
Scully should really just shoot. Who cares if he's unarmed? He has lightning powers. Before things can get sparky, Sharon decides to go with Darren so no one else gets harmed. Darren has done all of this simply because Sharon was nice to him when she was his teacher. He's got to realize there are more women out there, and maybe forcing them to be with you under duress isn't the best way to go about getting one.
Skivy? Hey, come over here. Come on over here.
Sharon takes off after the sheriff interrupts their little love fest, and Mulder pulls her into some bushes away from Darren. This only upsets Darren, who really needs a mental evaluation. I mean, they were gonna give one to the fluke man, so why not him? The sheriff catches up with Darren, but he should be just fine. I mean, he has spent this entire episode talking about how much he knows about lightning. He should know exactly how to handle this situation. Oh, well, that was quite shocking. Darren has been moved to the psychiatric hospital, and beyond being a little crazy, it doesn't look like any of the deaths are actually going to stick to him. Everything has been labeled an accident. So what's to stop him from escaping and going after Sharon again? D.P.O. is a fun episode. As a kid, I always wanted lightning powers. I don't really know why, I just thought it'd be really cool. I don't remember if this episode played into that at all, but it's possible. Although I don't think I'd be using it to try and force one of my high school teachers to be with me. That's some weird incel energy that I just don't have. D.P.O. sits at 7.8 on IMDb, but I'm gonna go with an 8. It's a pretty solid standalone episode, and it's nice to have something that isn't quite so serious after the last 3 episodes we just went through. The genesis of this episode came from a note card that Chris Carter had thumbtacked to the board in his office, which read Lightning Boy. Not much came of this card until later down the line, when the writers thought it could be used as a metaphor for disenfranchised adolescents. Writer Howard Gordon felt the episode suffered overall though, because it came right after 3 great mythology episodes, and originally they were going to reference the events of those episodes and even expand upon them somewhat in this one, but Chris said no to the idea because he really wanted to keep the Monster of the Week and mythology episodes completely separate, except for the times where he doesn't. Illusionists Penn and Teller were originally supposed to appear in this episode, but because of scheduling conflicts were unable to do so. Instead, Sheriff Teller was named as a reference to the duo. David Gauthier, who was the special effects supervisor, created a lightning machine that would mimic the effect of a lightning strike. It was buried in the ground and used mirrors and generators that would produce enough energy that it could singe the grass around. To protect Giovanni Ribisi, they had him stand on a slightly raised platform, which would be hidden with various camera angles, smoke, and sparks. But going frame by frame in one certain scene, the platform makes it look like he's floating in the air. During the scene where Darren kills the cows, the producers wanted to use real dead cows. They had trouble getting permission to use them because of animal rights groups, and instead tried fake cows. However, the fake cows didn't look quite right, so they went back and got permission, and then contacted a local slaughterhouse who was able to provide them with an actual dead cow. When Scully flips through Darren's yearbook, there are several pictures of crew members, including the episode's director, Kim Manners, and sadly for Manners, his best friend and best friend's son died during the filming of this episode, and instead of leaving, he chose to stay on and finish the shoot. I don't think anyone would have said anything if he left, but everyone grieves in their own way. Ernie Lively played the role of Sheriff Teller, and if that name sounds familiar, well, that's because he's the father of actress Blake Lively, which is interesting because she's married to Ryan Reynolds, who will also have a brief appearance in The X-Files. Ernie is a character actor going back to the 1970s and has had a lot of small roles in shows like The Waltons, The Dukes of Hazzard, and The West Wing. He's probably best known for The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, as he played the father of Blake's character in those 2 films. He's unfortunately no longer with us, passing away June 3rd, 2021 at the age of 74. Karen Laurie played Sharon Kavit, and like I mentioned earlier, she was the Playboy Playmate of March 1982. She appeared a few more times in Playboy, even gracing the cover of the March 1983 issue, until she would eventually move on to acting. She wouldn't have a very big acting career, appearing in some low-grade horror movies like The Vineyard and Popcorn, but in 2001 would end up marrying big-time TV producer Chuck Lorre, known for shows like 2.5 Men and The Big Bang Theory. Karen has since retired from acting and is now a spiritual healer and life coach. Giovanni Ribisi played Darren Peter Oswald, and he does a really good job of playing the young Darren. Giovanni these days is a fairly big actor, and it's fun to see where he got his start. Although he's kinda sketchy because he is an active Scientologist, and I'm sure saying that just put me on a list, and if I go missing, well, you know why. He apparently even wrote a letter to the courts asking that they be lenient on Danny Masterson, who is also a Scientologist, after it came out that he had raped 2 women in 2003, and that the Church of Scientology had been doing whatever it could to keep them quiet, which is why it took so long for everything to be brought to justice. I'm just gonna throw allegedly over everything, and yeah, we're gonna move on. The biggest star to come out of all of this is Bowser himself, Jack Black. What can I really say about Jack Black? The guy has been pretty much everywhere the past 3 decades, either acting or with his band Tenacious D. His first acting gig was at the age of 13 for a commercial for the Pitfall video game in 1982. After that, he had a bunch of small roles throughout the 90s for shows and movies like Picket Fences, Demolition Man, and Mars Attacks. It wasn't until 2000's High Fidelity where he would find his breakout role. After that, it would lead him to things like Shallow Hal, School of Rock, and Peter Jackson's King Kong. Jack Black is pretty much in everything these days, and I really don't see that trend ending anytime soon. I'm not the biggest fan, but I do get the appeal, and I thought he was great as Bowser in the Super Mario Bros. Movie. D.P.O. is a good episode with a fun premise. Although how do you really arrest someone for killing people with lightning when you really can't prove it? Anyways, next up is one of the best episodes in the series when Mulder and Scully meet a man who can see how people are going to die in the episode Clyde Bruckman's Final Repose. I hope you enjoyed today's video. What do you think of D.P.O? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you all for watching. I hope you're having a great day, and as always, stay spooky.
Friday. Come on! He can control the Earth's most deadly force.
Saying that he's some kind of a lightning rod?
I'm saying that he is lightning.
He can destroy his victims at the speed of light.
Looks like his heart was cooked right in his chest.
And he always strikes twice.
Don't move.
The X-Files, a brand new episode Friday.